So we've got lots to discuss in the world of IPOs, but first let's touch on what's making headlines across Canada right now, which is the devastating flooding and rainfall in BC. So not only is this disaster impacting Canadians living in BC, but homes, properties, businesses, and even animals. So how might this impact the markets, Brendan?
Well, I don't think it'll impact the markets broadly, but I do think it is indicative of the fragility of which we find ourselves. We talked some weeks ago, you and I, about the supply chain issues that the world is having, the difficulty of getting goods from one place to another. And besides the human tragedy and all of the damage done to property and the poor livestock, this flooding disaster in BC, I think highlights just we've stretched our supply lines so thin that something like this, where rail lines have been flooded, where roads have been flooded, has made it even more difficult to get goods from Vancouver to the rest of the country. So it's just, I think, indicative of the fact that we as a country, and I think we as a world, or certainly as a Western world, need to work more closely together. As our leaders, the President of Mexico, President Biden, and Prime Minister Trudeau are all getting together to talk trade this week. I think it's more than about trade. It's about cooperation toward a better standard of living for everybody on the continent. And I think the BC flooding, first and foremost, is a tragedy, but I think it highlights the need for us all collectively to work together if we're going to have growth, success, prosperity in the coming years.
Yes, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on the Three Amigos meeting, Brendan. All right, let's jump into today's topic of IPOs. Let's start with a brief overview of what exactly IPOs are.
Well, initial public offering, when a company goes from being privately held, and there's a big market in the States for private companies, venture capital, private equity, helps companies grow from their initial idea stage through their first sales to their growth phase. And then at some point, hopefully earlier on than later, these companies are available for the general public to buy, because I think that's where, at least where the most of the growth should take place going forward. So it's where a company goes from privately owned to being owned by the public.
And who are IPOs targeted to? It seems that some investors get in while some don't have access.
Well, that is a challenge. And I think access to the public markets is something that regulators really need to look at. And I think capital markets need to look at it themselves, because I really do believe that public markets are essential for the creation of wealth and the middle class, because it allows everybody to become owners in a country's best ideas. We don't resent, I don't know, Bill Gates or any of the founders of the big tech companies as much. If you have ability to participate with, say, Jeff Bezos at Amazon, you don't hate him quite as much because his success helps to predicate yours. Whereas if people can't participate with the wealthiest, with the best ideas and the biggest companies, there becomes a dichotomy between rich and everybody else. We're already seeing that. But access to public markets is so important because it allows everybody to participate in the growth of an economy.
All right, Brendan, just about 30 seconds left here. But most recently, we saw 3 EV or electric vehicle IPOs this week. So what is driving this growth in electric vehicle IPOs in particular?
Well, I think everybody wants to be the next Tesla, but I think people need to think about Tesla a little bit differently. The stock's come off maybe 20% in the last few weeks, but it's not just about cars. It's about communications. It's about the Internet of Things. At some point in the not too distant future, it won't be just you driving a car. You may not be driving the car at all. Your car and the next car may actually be talking to each other. It may be the end of traffic jams as we know it. We'll see. But how transportation actually gets done in the rest of the 21st century is really what's at stake here. And I think everybody wants a piece of it, hence the flood, forgive the pun, of IPOs in this particular sector, in the electric vehicle sector.
We'll be right back.